Welcome to the Red Shirt Podcast with your hosts, Vernon and Nigel. The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds.
On Friday from 3 p.m. till last night, there was a social media blackout. I'll start with you, Natalie. What do you think of the social media blackout and the people supporting it? And obviously, it was a campaign which was triggered by Thierry Henry.
I love it because actually that's us taking to another step, and someone on their platform using their platform to then, encourage us to do so. I think for me, it's like taking the knee. What's next then? So that's been done. Okay, what do we keep doing that? I think accountability needs to be taken by social media companies. I know if they needed to, they would find these people. They just can. I've watched The Hunted. I've seen what they can do. But it's a bit like okay, you might know that I like my metaphors, so bear with me with this one. But I feel as though, okay, say if there's going to be a bank robbery, right? And you got a getaway driver transporting these people to go and rob the bank. Stay with me. You're not going in the bank to rob it, but you're transporting or a means to them getting there and getting away with it, basically. So for me, I think they should be brought into it, and money talks. So fine them, big fines,
Natalie, look, you can go down just for being at a crime. By association, just being there, just because you fit. You know what I mean? Or you was known to, you can end up in prison doing the same amount of time as the others. So don't, even the getaway driver driving some Ford Mondeo, you're in fully. You know what I mean?
Models are available.
Other cars are available. But I've got to say, after that analogy, Natalie, I kind of feeling that you'd sing like a canary, so I don't think anyway, and also I think you'd probably run off with like a bag which said swag on the back.
Swag on it, With a
going back to you, Lammy. I mean, the problem that I have, especially with like social media, obviously accounts and stuff, is it gives, or these platforms and the companies allow for invisibility, don't they? So a guy can racially abuse you and be called, kitchen sink #1. And to a certain degree, these social media accounts encourage that sort of like invisibility, don't they? I mean, there was emojis that were asked to be, deleted from their site, and they refused, didn't they?
Absolutely. And I think Natalie touched on it in the very early stages. And I'm going to just make the quite simple comparison between the reaction to the European Super League and the speed in which that was addressed, i.e. because it was financial, and the reason behind, the blackout based on race. Now, it's coincidental that they finally done that, whereby the racial issue has been going on for some time, okay? Now, to me, it made me feel as though they need to do something because they've shown that they can mobilize the football community when it comes to it threatening the game. Now, if they really felt strongly about the racial and the discrimination that players are being given, they could have dealt with this. So the police would put some, already have laws in place. When they're ready to create laws in 24 hours, 48 hours, and make these social media platforms accountable and insist, say, for example, if there's drug dealers that they want to go and get information on tap phones and everything else that they then do, that information is all accessible. However, it doesn't affect the game the way in which the Super League potentially affected it. And yes, it's a next step from the knee. Now, the thing is, even myself as a person of color, black, basically, I look at that and I look at it and think, what's its significance? Because anybody who isn't on the other end of it is basically, for me, looking at that game and just wondering, just get it started. I don't know whether or not they're stopping and actually thinking, is it really jolting people? Is it stopping people from maybe making comments and so forth? So as you know, I'm down south, okay? And a prime example, when it first started, and one of the parents from my son's football team is a Millwall fan. And there was they played a game, and I don't know if you remember this, but they basically made a lot of a ruckus in order for the knee not to go on. And they even had a black player. And I asked him, what's that all about? And his reply was this, he and I think he actually meant this. He said, it was just all the lefties causing a load of trouble. It didn't even acknowledge the deeper issue behind it. Now, Millwall fans like to put themselves out there to say like they're being disrupted or they're a bit different. But my point being is that, you know, you take the knee, but it doesn't really affect people until suddenly that they're getting a knock at the door, their employees are being informed, you know, it's starting to affect individuals when people find out suddenly they're being tracked down. That, I think people will stop and think twice about hiding behind certain media. Now, I won't say it's going to eradicate it, but it's just the difference between 1970, where somebody would say something blatantly to your face, and 2000, where they then become a bit more aware and understand, and it becomes a lot more covert as opposed to covert.
So, Richard, just so that the panel know, Millwall are from like Bermondsey in London, so that's like, it's like the old docks. So it's quite a predominantly white area, if I'm correct. It's very quite a racist. It's had a history of racism, hasn't it? So like in the 1960s, that area under the Labour government, they actually sort of like there was protests for black people getting jobs within that area. So geographically, that's the point. But another point about Millwall, and I don't know if any of you guys know this, but Jazzy B's son from Soul to Soul plays for him.
Oh.
All right.
So there's a little fact for you. Nigel, your feelings on social media blackout?
Yeah, so I totally agree with what Lammy said. I think Lammy's articulated the point very powerfully. And I mean, we spoke about it earlier. I mean, I'm always quite skeptical. Well, first of all, I think we just have to acknowledge the reality of the situation. Yeah, there was energy when it was about the ESL, and we've been trying for the longest time to deal with racism in football, and there is no energy. I mean, there's a little bit of energy, so we just have to deal with the reality of that there's no money in it. There's no bet. You know, a lot of people have unconscious bias. And the reality is, it's playing out in glorious technicolor. So we can see the fact that, hey, hang on a minute, in 48 hours, we shut down the ESL. And how many years later, we're still struggling with racism and discrimination in general in football. So let's just take a step back and recognize it's not going to change overnight, because there's no reason for it to change overnight. You know, people don't care enough for it to change overnight. So anything that we can do. So I mean, that's why what the fans did was so powerful in that, well, we're going to disrupt in any way we can. So the blackout's a good idea, but I'm very interested in the what's next. How else do we keep disrupting? I would argue that even the taking of the knee, you know, there's an argument that says, okay, it was very powerful at the time, but the guy in America's been locked up. You know, so maybe we move on to the next form of disruption, and the next signal that signals to the unconscious bias that exists within many of the football fans and many of the football fraternities. It's a societal problem, not just a football problem. So it's really about being smart. I mean, and I always say, you know, people talk about, it's not my job anymore to educate white people about their unconscious bias. You know, I'm sick of it. I'm tired. I've been doing it all my life. From the moment I went to school in a white area and behave a certain way so that they wouldn't feel threatened by me. I've been doing this all my life. Quite frankly, I'm tired.
Nigel.
And if you can't handle it, then that's actually your problem. You know?
Nigel, I saw how you behaved on the 2-6 bus.
You were there, man.
Red card, man. Red card, Bernie. You're out of order, man. Oh, the guy's giving you his heart here, and you just
slam him.
I'm telling you, man. Oh my days.
I've got to say, Nigel, on the back of that 260 bus upstairs, you were the strongest, confident guy I ever come across.
You had to be to do with Lammy and his crew, I tell you. You see how sweet. You see how sweet Lammy's talking today. It wasn't so sweet, you know, back in the day.
Nigel, my legs are still getting back. The blood's coming back. I played him in 1987 in Seymour Park.
Can I just say about the knee? To me, when I do social, it's ironic because like when I do social media, whenever you see hashtag BLM, you always see someone get triggered, and I think, what are you getting triggered for? Why are you getting triggered for, mate? What's up? What's wrong with it? It's 3 letters. What's wrong with it? And to me, when the knee still does it. I watched that Millwall game. I don't know how it was on. I remember thinking, rah, you know what I mean? Or I saw excerpts from it, you know what I mean? And I thought, rah. But I think they said they was going and they were going to be disruptive for the sake of disrupt. But there's been a legacy there, let's be honest. You know? And truthfully, there's been a legacy right at the top of the FA. Remember, the chairman got sacked. So from top to bottom, it's been there. So when we say about what's next on the second knee, I think, they're talking about the needing black representation, so that chat can't go around the boardroom. You know what I mean? I even want commentators to talk about black players. Never intelligent, never smart, strong, aggressive, such and such.
Animalistic.
All these things are portrayed to young people. I want them to even start talking differently about football, black players and stuff. You know, and I do, and I said the last time, I think we're ahead of many other places in the world in terms of it. There's still a lot of work to be done, you know what I mean, and stuff. But and when we talk about social media, they can trade. If it was a terrorist, they would be round his yard in 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Vernon.
No, go on, Natalie. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, hate crime is illegal, right?
It's illegal, yeah.
So what is this, hate crime? No? I don't. Yeah. So I don't understand.
Natalie can remember there was a fan who, I think it was a United fan in the corner who did something, and within, I think, 2 days, where they said racially abused someone, and within 2 days, everyone had found where he was, his yard and stuff, and his job was up on the line and everything. Now,
and if it was a City fan with Lingard in the derby, I was there, and everybody had reported it because they'd seen him on Sky, and he'd been suspended the next day. Now, the points that you're making, I'd just like to make a couple of before I go on to the next subject. Is we're talking there about like football and commentators. Now I can go back to the 1990 quarter-final against Cameroon, Brian Moore and Ron Atkinson. And Ron Atkinson said about a certain Cameroonian player, well, he was jumping in trees last week. That went out to the nation. And the other one that I always have to quote when people ask me, to get a bit shirty about Black Lives Matters, and you've just got to use the words Stephen Lawrence, and I think that just sums it up straight away. The actual pain that his parents had to go through and the corruption that they had to go through. Let's hope that we make it a better day for our children and theirs. But this takes me on to United's Europa League semi-final against Roma.
Against Mourinho.
Well, no. He takes over.
What's Mourinho doing? He's on an utter wind United up. You know what I mean?
He's got 9 lives, man. Gosh.
He takes over next season.
Sorry.
He takes over next season,
Yeah, we know
Mourinho.
this.
Yeah, I know, but it's enough to get us vexed, so we're going to batter him again. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But last week, guys, last Thursday night, while most of the nation was worried about who'd paid for Boris's wallpaper, I've got to say, it's probably one of the best performances that I've actually seen. So I'm going to start with you, Nigel, if I can, and then you, Hanif. You still there, Nigel?
Right. Yeah, no, I'm still here. So I was waiting for your question. But
that was the first half performance then by Nigel.
That was the first half performance.
Now,
obviously, right. So obviously we played great. I thought it was just a shot in the arm that we needed. It was good to see. I mean, obviously people were worried about, you know, the Matt Fred thing in the middle and whether it was actually going to work or not. And people said change it and blah, blah, you know, at half time. But the reality is it looked great and it worked. And obviously Pogba is just brilliant for the whole game. But then you know what? I'm not going to get carried away because the reality is we had to. Reality is they lost 3 of their players, and until they lost those 3 players, they were very much in the conversation. And so, yes, we played great, but then there were other factors that contributed to that result. So 6-2 probably flatters us a little because that team were playing quite well in the first 20 minutes.
Well, just to let so that everybody knows, because those 3 players went off in the first half and they made 3 first half substitutions, they weren't allowed
to make any more.
To make any replacements. So that's why, you know. But if I go on to you, Hanif.
I ain't gonna lie. If you go on my social media, I was cussing the first half. There's some comments there which, you know what I mean. It didn't look good. You know what I mean and stuff. You know, I thought, I think the losses for them made a massive difference to the game. You know what? I'm still never happy, even with sometimes how we perform, even when we win 6-2. I've got to be honest, because I still see things that if we're capitalised on by decent teams, it would be a totally different game. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to lie, I was happy. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Mason's coming on. I thought him playing on that side is miles better. Just leave him out of the mid. Let him just come in and cut in, man. Come in and cut in and bang him in. Just leave him. And Cavani, you know what I mean? His work rate is, exemplary. You could see by the way he was bringing people in when he scored and such and looking at them in the eye. This is what you can do, you know what I mean, and stuff. And it was great. It's fabulous. I enjoyed it. You know, I mean, I enjoyed it for the thing is we'll see how it's gonna go. I'm just hoping Ollie doesn't get Billy Big Balls tomorrow. You know what I mean? Thingy and start messing about because 2 goals. Yeah, you know what I mean? Billy Big Balls. You know, he sometimes thinks he's like his football manager and sits down and like I'm dead cool and then messes about with the team and then he you know what I mean? With it all of a sudden something's struggling. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping he just plays it sensible, puts a decent team out and thingy because if they get 2 goals, they'd start flapping. Maguire would start flapping, Finger'd start flapping, and it could go ugly.
Well, don't worry about it. Chris Smalling will give us 2 more goals. The header that he missed so that Pogba could score was brilliant, and obviously gave us the penalty as well. So don't worry, man. Chris Smalling's got it covered for us.
Them locks were flowing.
Correction, Nigel. Mike Smalling.
Oh.
So, Natalie, how did you? I mean, did you enjoy it? What did you think? Or was
yeah. I mean, for a long time, that's the first time in a long time that I've probably watched a game and not felt on edge. You know, towards when we started scoring, I thought, oh, this is like the Fergie days back in the day when it was like, say, 0-0, and it was like the 89th minute, and you just knew we were going to either win or draw or whatever. Normally win. So it's that kind of moment, and it was nice to see all the top players turn up for the big game, and it's almost like it's contagious. So Pogba turns up, and then Fernandez, and then the kind of Cavani, I think, inspires everyone and kind of gets everyone going. So I think it was a great team effort.
Richard, high points, low points.
So for me, quite simply, you know what the high points were in? It's been a long time since I've seen a game where people are playing passes with the outside of the foot and actually hitting the destination. You know, when you kind of grew up and you saw either you played football in Seymour Park and people were doing it, then you were seeing United through the golden years where that style of fluency of football was being played, and it really held my interest. Do you know what I mean? The thing was, it was only 3 or 4 players within the team, and like you couldn't get away from the fragilities that are still there. And it also kind of goes to show about the work United still have to then do. Strangely enough, I was quite relaxed, even at 2-1 down going in at half time. I'd love to be a fly on the wall because something happens when they go in and come back out. Ollie must say something, I'm not sure what it is.
Ferguson.
A real turnaround. And it's just the fluency and the style of football, because sometimes it's so sterile, it's so mundane. Even if you get the result, you're still kind of disappointed. But as I say, I saw 2 or 3 passes with the outside of the foot, and I thought, I'm having this tonight. So yeah, overall, I thought it was a great watch. It
was funny because, like, obviously seeing the finish for the equaliser for 2-2. The first goal that United scored was really good. The movement between like the 1-2 with Cavani and Bruno, and I thought, you know, this could be a good night. And then all of a sudden, we went back into semi-final syndrome, didn't we? Where all of a sudden it was like, winning it. Yeah, exactly. We gave a European penalty away, because I call it a European penalty. And then obviously, you know, Fred, I know Nigel loves Fred, but he didn't do his job. Do you know what I mean? In covering back, and Dzeko was there and he put them 2-1 up. And I remember just thinking at half time, I was thinking, if we get an equaliser, we'll beat these in Rome, because they're not very good. The 7th in Serie A, and it's not a very strong Serie A. You know, it's not a Roma team that I can remember. But what I've got to say is the second half was just enjoyable. You know, I think you had that pass for Mason's goal where Cavani put it on the outside of his, you know, the outside of his foot. But I think as well, if it wasn't for 2 fantastic blocks from some of their defenders, it could have been 8. So we go back into it. Go on, Nanif, sorry.
I'm going to say, as a performance for United, that wasn't the best. To me, still was a Tottenham game. First half, you know what I mean? I'm now jumping back, came out, and it's like, I didn't recognise him. And the second half, you know what I mean? And you know, the first half, we were still lackadaisical in the Roma game, you know what I mean, and stuff. I thought, we got the goal and stuff, which that goal was, I must admit, was a beautiful goal. It's one of the first near ticky-tacky ones we've done in ages, you know what I mean, and stuff. Whereby a couple of passes, you know, it wasn't Rashford running into 3 guys and wondering where's the ball, you know what I mean, and stuff. But it's just well, you know, I mean, I just wonder, come on, Rash, you know what I mean, and stuff. Yeah. So, I mean,
you raise a great point. The reality is, I think Rashford has to take a look over his shoulder, because I think Greenwood is doing more than enough to just take that shirt off him. Because I think Pogba on the left seems to be working. Matt Fred in the middle. So, you know, Rashford, I mean, I know he's Ollie's favourite, but take a look over your shoulder, man. Greenwood is doing it. He's just coming on and doing his job, and he's just amazing.
Is he like a Solskjaer, though? A sub that comes on and a super sub?
No, he's way better than Solskjaer. He's
way better.
He's next level.
Next level.
I think if you were to base Greenwood's game on anybody, you would say that he's basing his game on El Fenomeno, who was Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo.
Oh,
he does. He tucks his shoulder, he tucks it in, he tucks it the other way. And obviously, he's a big favourite in our house, because obviously he looks like Marvin, my older brother. So, but we're gonna say that we're kind of, without being, you know, too over cocky, there's kind of like one foot kind of firmly in the final. So it comes to our favorite time, especially Nigel's, where it comes to predictions for this game. Ooh. So we'll go ladies first. Oh. So Natalie.
I was having to think then. I would say 2-2.
Okay, 2-2.
Yeah.
Okay. Richard?
I'm going to go for a 3-1 United win.
Very positive. I like that. Bear in mind, guys, because he didn't play this Sunday, I think he'll probably play a stronger team than he wanted to. So I think, you know, probably Donny van der Bench will probably get 45 seconds, you know, at the end of the game.
Oh,
good.
I'm not laughing.
I don't rate him
because I love Donny van der Bench.
You know, I don't rate him.
Can I just say?
I'm not messing about me. That's why you don't come on the show again. What are you talking about? No, man, not messing about.
Can I just say though? Listen,
Donny van der Bench. I like that, man. Van der Bench.
Listen, I really like him, you know, because of what he does off the ball. It creates a space.
Right.
So I think there's some players that just do the job neatly, nicely, no flair, nothing.
I do a lot of work off the ball in the yard. No one compliments me, Sarah. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, Nigel. I'm upset you.
Please leave.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Edlin.
Anyway, and if you've got a red card because one, you upset Nigel, and also you interrupted him. So
sorry. Oh man, I'm getting the stare now. Jeez. Oh man, I'm not coming in this club anymore. You're bad. Oh jeez.
So Nigel, let's go with your prediction.
I actually genuinely think we're going to lose this one 2-1.
I can't believe you said that, Nigel.
I do. I think we're going to genuinely lose 2-1. I think they've got nothing to lose. I think they're going to want to make a statement. They're embarrassed. I think they're going to play the socks off. And we've obviously demonstrated we can concede goals. I think we're going to start slow again. I think we're going to score 2, and I think we'll score 1. And you know what? I think he'll rest a lot of these players and then drag them all on at the end to try and save the game. That's just Ollie. The one thing we can't factor in is Ollie. And Ollie is
won't need to, Nigel, because we'll be 7-4 up on aggregate.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying what's the result. We're going to lose 2-1. That's what I'm going to say. Okay. We'll still win. We'll still go through.
You know, I give Nigel some credence on that because it's just typical what could happen with United. You know what I mean and stuff. Remember last Champions League the other year, we threw all our. Oh, anyway, going on.
We're only joking about banning you. You can disagree with Nigel.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right. Yeah, you're all right.
I want to change mine, please.
Where you going? What are you doing, Natalie?
Just remembered United's away form, so I'm going 3-2 United.
Okay.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. I'm going to go because I think it's going to be a strong team, and I think they're going to get rid of this hoodoo. So I'm going to go for a 2-0, and they're going to give it to Eddie Cavani, and he'll get a double, Eddie. You know what I mean? I'm feeling he's got 5 in his last 7. He's looking hot. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go for that, which then brings us on to Sunday's game against Aston Villa, which traditionally is a big game. United fans, United's teams in the past, they love Villa Park. It's traditionally a great place for us to go to. This will be interesting because obviously, I don't know about you guys, but I want us to finish second strong. I want us to send out a statement of intent. Richard, how do you feel about this?
It's a bit of a tricky one because if they don't start right, it's going to be like, oh, here we go again. Because I think Ollie Watkins can give the defense problems. You know, he's tenacious, he's strong, he knows where the goal is. I think they've got, is it McCann in midfield?
McGinn
in midfield. Again, good engine on him. And if United's setup isn't right, the personnel, then they're going to find themselves going behind, I think. And, it's going to be one of them ones there. Are they going to then do it again? Going in at halftime and then kind of come back. So I just really hope that he goes out there and whichever team he puts out, that they understand to try and get the job done. They respect the opposition, because I'm not quite sure whether or not they're half asleep and still in the changing room first half on most games. So I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Okay.
I know Villa can concede as well.
Yeah, they're not particularly great at the back, are they? I think Anif and Natalie and Nigel, as well as Richard, it all depends if Jack Grealish plays, doesn't it?
Why is he playing? Oh, gosh.
No, he's injured,
hasn't he?
Oh, right, okay. I was going to say.
Can I ask two questions? Well, thingy, depends on how we do against Roma.
Yeah.
Well, which if that's a full confirm, then think if it's a bad night, thingy. And is second place confirmed even as we are yet, or is it still up for, could we lose second place?
I mean, I think, like, looking at it, we'd have to lose about 3 games on the bounce, but it's confirmed as at the moment we've got a champion. It's confirmed that we'll be in the Champions League, because like we've got 67 points. So, if we win if we win or draw, that's 68 or 70, and that will take you that's guaranteed. But if you look at like the other fixtures that the other teams have got, they're all quite tricky. Mm-hmm. I think Leicester have got like Chelsea and Tottenham, in the last 2 games. So there's quite a hard swing for them. Plus they've got to like get in the FA Cup. So if they lose the FA Cup, then, because if they play Chelsea twice in the FA Cup and in the league.
Right. Okay. I'm saying it might be going to be a draw, 1-1.
You go, oh, interesting. Very interesting. Nigel?
No, I've just looked at their results recently. They're not doing very well, are they?
Grealish has been injured, hasn't he?
Yeah, and you can see that they apart from beating Everton, they've just been, the results have been pretty bad recently.
I've got to say, it was a good game. It was a really good game. I enjoyed that on Saturday night.
Yeah, so I think it'll be. I mean, our away form was great anyway. So, like we said, so I expect us to. We're going to get battered, but I expect us to win that. I expect us to win that one, actually, quite comfortably.
So that brings us to Natalie.
Oh, right. Okay, so I think
you can't change the result this time.
I know. Okay, I'll lock the main one in. Right. Okay, so my thoughts around this is the away form. So I think United will win. However, I think it's easy for us to trip up on these kind of teams like Aston Villa and Everton's of this world, because I think the psychology of it is we're not the underdog there, and then I think it depends where the players' heads are at. I will go with and lock this one in 2-0. Yeah. Oh, it's locked in. Yeah, I can't change.
You sure?
I was just going to change it. 1-0.
Throw the friend. 50-50.
1-0 penalty as well.
Okay, I'm gonna go because I think United will win on. Thursday night, and I think they'll win at Villa. I'm gonna go for a 1-0.
Copycat.
You changed those 4 times.
Let's say in the end, I don't even know. 1-0 or 2-0, that's mine. No problem. Anyway, that brings us to an end of a very, 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 very busy Red Shirt podcast. Thank you to all our guests. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you.
And Nigel, it comes to that stage where we say, love life, love football, and
the green and yellow flag flying. Not a penny more. Not a penny more.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, guys.
The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.